There's a truth most young men never hear, but once you grasp it, it alters how you view women forever. A woman doesn't simply tolerate a man. She doesn't stay just for comfort or habit. A woman can become haunted, obsessed, unable to forget the man who stirs something within her she didn't even realize was dormant. See, women don't fall simply due to physical satisfaction. That might seize their body for a night, but it won't seize their soul. What really binds a woman to a man is when he stirs her spirit, her psychology, and that primal flow of emotion running deep under her surface. Consider it this way. Intimacy isn't merely body against body. It's body, mind, and soul flowing together, almost like three instruments in harmony. If one is absent, the song feels hollow. But when all three are aligned, that's when the music turns unforgettable. And here's where most men stumble. They pursue pleasure like it's a finish line. Rushing, forcing, trying to perform. But Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, once said, "The secret of life is not chasing pleasure, but mastering it." A man who masters intimacy doesn't just offer her a good night. He offers her an experience that imprints her forever. So ask yourself, are you the man who leaves nothing behind, or are you the man she can never erase from her memory? Part 1. The truth about connection. Most men grow up thinking that connection is simple, that it's natural, that you just figure it out over time. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Connection isn't something you stumble into. It's something you master. Think about it. Most men only know one or two kinds of pleasure they can give a woman, but the female body, the female mind, holds 7 hidden keys of ecstasy. 7 doors that once unlocked don't just bring her satisfaction. They bind her to you in a way she can't easily break free from. And here's the danger. If you don't know how to open those doors, someone else might. That's why so many women slip into fantasies, even in a relationship. Not because they don't love their partner, but because they yearn for an experience deeper than routine. To truly master intimacy, a man must understand more than just anatomy. He must read her nervous system, sense her rhythms, grasp her fears and unspoken desires, and above all, learn the power of restraint. Pleasure isn't just about intensity, it's about timing, patience, and presence. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, once said, "The secret of life is not chasing pleasure, but controlling it." Apply that to intimacy and you become more than a lover. You become unforgettable. So the question is, will you stay like most men fumbling in the dark? Or will you learn the map of her desire and become the man she never forgets? Part 2. 7 keys to pleasure. 1. Full body experience. The first hidden key to a woman's deepest pleasure is what I call the full body experience. Now, this isn't linked to one single spot on her body. It's not just about touching here or there. Instead, it's her entire nervous system igniting at once, as if every cell is singing in harmony. Imagine electricity coursing through her whole body, not just one place. That's what makes this experience unlike anything she's ever known. But here's the truth. You can't force this. You don't just press a button and expect fireworks. This type of experience is built slowly, like a fire starting with a spark. It begins with the smallest things, the look in your eyes, the way you breathe near her, the whisper that makes her skin shiver. Those are the first notes of a song that eventually builds into something transcendent. When she reaches this state, it's not just connection anymore. It's meditation. It's a state beyond pleasure, where body and soul dissolve into one current. That's why women who experience it often describe it as spiritual, even healing. And here's the part men don't realize. Once she's had this with you, it leaves a mark. It creates a kind of hunger, an addiction, because she knows most men will never take her there again. So, let me ask you, are you rushing to the finish line, or are you patient enough to guide her into an experience that rewires her memory of what intimacy even means? 2. External experience. The second key is the external experience. Now this is the most common type of experience women have. But here's the problem. It's also the easiest to forget. Why? Because most men approach it like pushing a button, like flipping a switch. Quick, shallow, mechanical, and yes, it works, but it leaves no real mark. See, the external area isn't just a button, it's part of a much bigger network of pleasure that spreads like roots through her body. If all you do is press on the surface, you miss the depth. It's like playing one note on a piano when there's a whole symphony waiting. This is where the difference between the impatient man and the master becomes clear. The impatient man rushes. He wants results fast. He wants fireworks now. And so the experience becomes surface level, forgettable. But the man who understands, he uses the external experience as a fuse, not a finish line. He knows it's the spark that can open the door to deeper layers of ecstasy. Think of it like fire. A spark can burn out in seconds, or in the right hands it can ignite an entire blaze. The choice is yours. So I'll ask you, are you treating her body like a machine with buttons to press? Or are you willing to slow down, to explore, to turn the external experience into the beginning of a journey she's never had before? Because when you do, you're no longer just another man in her past. You become the one who awakened her. 3. Internal spot experience. The third key is the internal spot experience. Physically, it's found just a few centimeters inside on the front wall. But if you think this is just about hitting the right spot, you've already missed the point. The internal spot isn't just a physical trigger, it's emotional dynamite. When awakened, it unlocks something primal in a woman, something far deeper than surface-level pleasure. Here's the mistake most men make. They rush. They treat the internal spot like a target to hit. Or worse, they obsess over certain reactions, as if that's the trophy. That impatience destroys the very magic they're chasing, because this isn't about technique alone, it's about trust. The man who truly masters this doesn't chase reactions, he creates safety. He builds an atmosphere where she feels free to let go, to surrender without fear of being judged or rushed. Only then can her body open fully, not just physically, but emotionally. And when it happens, something profound is released. Oxytocin, the bonding hormone. This isn't just chemistry, it's biology, forging a deeper connection between two people. Think about that. While most men are scratching at the surface, the wise man is patient. He understands that what makes this experience unforgettable isn't just the sensation. It's the way it ties her to him at the level of her nervous system, her emotions, even her biology. The Stoics taught that mastery is never about chasing outcomes, but about discipline and presence. That's exactly what this requires. Patience, restraint, and the willingness to let her body choose the pace. So, the real question is, are you rushing toward trophies, or are you building the kind of trust that makes her body answer with an instinct older than words? Because once you've awakened her internal spot in the right way, she will never forget the man who gave her that freedom. 4. Blended experience. External plus internal spot. The fourth key is the blended experience when the external and the internal spot awaken together. Now, imagine two rivers colliding, merging into one unstoppable current. That's what this is. It's not just pleasure, it's a flood that takes over her entire nervous system. It shakes her body, but more than that, it imprints something deep into her memory. But here's the truth. This is rare. Most men never guide a woman here. Why? Because it requires patience, coordination, timing. You can't rush it. It's like trying to force two flames to dance. You don't smash them together. You nurture them until they merge on their own. The impatient man chases one climax, grabs what he can, and calls it victory. But the master knows the real art is weaving sensations together until they fuse. When you do this, It doesn't just feel powerful, it feels sacred. It becomes an experience that shapes how she sees intimacy itself. Think about it. There are moments in life that brand themselves into your memory. Your first triumph, your first heartbreak, the moment you tasted freedom. A blended experience is like that. It defines her story of desire. And once you give her that, you're not just another chapter. You become the chapter she rereads in her mind over and over. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." In intimacy, her soul becomes dyed with the color of her experiences, and this rare, all-consuming release paints you into her with strokes that never fade. So the question isn't whether you can touch her body. Any man can do that. The question is, can you guide her to this union of sensations so profound it becomes part of who she is? Because if you can, you'll never just be remembered. You'll be unforgettable. 5. Deep internal experience. Now, let's step into the fifth key, the deep internal experience. This is not common. This is not quick. This is not for men who chase shortcuts. The deep internal experience lives deep within her, both physically and emotionally. And here's the truth. Without absolute safety, without trust, without patience, it doesn't open. Attempt it recklessly, and it becomes pain. But guided with care, it transforms into something primal, something sacred. When it happens, it doesn't just shake her body, it shakes her soul. Some women cry, some tremble, some cling to you as if the world itself is collapsing around her, because in that moment, she's not just experiencing pleasure, she's releasing emotions she's been carrying for years. Why is this so powerful? Because the deep area is tied to the deepest layers of femininity, the seed of creation, the echo of birth, the place where life begins. To awaken that is to touch her at the core of her womanhood. And here's the consequence. Once she's been there with you, no other man will easily replace you. Not because of ego, not because of performance, but because you've guided her to a door very few men even know exists. But remember, this is not something to chase every night. This is not a trick. This is a rare gift, a ceremony, something that when it happens, marks her memory forever. Marcus Aurelius said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." In intimacy, her soul becomes dyed with the depth of the experiences you give her. And the deep internal experience done right is a color that never fades. 6. Alternative experience. Now let's move into one of the most misunderstood and controversial territories of intimacy. For many, just hearing the word sparks discomfort, taboo, even judgment. But here's the truth when approached with ignorance or impatience. Yes, it can cause pain. It can shut down. It can even damage the trust between you. That's why so many men fail here. They rush, they assume, they push where they should guide, and in doing so, they destroy the very possibility of pleasure. But when approached with patience, care, and above all, trust, this experience transforms. The nerve endings there are powerful, the sensations unique, and for many women, it opens a doorway to a pleasure they never imagined. It's not just physical, it carries a psychological weight. Why? Because it feels forbidden, secret, something not easily shared. And when she allows you into that space, it becomes an act of complete surrender. Think about it. In a world where she may give parts of herself to others, her smile, her conversation, her time, this is one part of her that feels untouchable. When she offers it to you, it carries the weight of exclusivity. It says, "I trust you in places no one else has gone." And that creates a bond far deeper than the surface level rush most men chase. But let me be clear, this is not for conquest, not for bragging rights, not to tick a box on some list of fantasies. It's for the man who understands that intimacy is about expansion, not exploitation. For the man who knows that sometimes the deepest connection comes not from taking, but from being trusted to lead her through the places she was once afraid to go. Seneca once wrote, "True happiness is to enjoy the present, without anxious dependence upon the future." In this space, if you both approach it without fear, without rush, without demand, it becomes exactly that. A present moment, raw, vulnerable, unforgettable. 7. Now, let's talk about one of the most underestimated sources of pleasure. Most men think of a woman's chest only as something to touch, to kiss, to admire. But what they don't realize is that the sensitive areas are directly wired to the same pleasure centers in the brain that respond to other zones. This means that for many women, stimulation there isn't just a warm-up, it can be the main event. Yes, some women can reach peaks solely from their chest being touched, kissed, or attended to. But here's the deeper truth. It's not only about sensation. The chest areas are symbols of nurturing, of feminine energy, of intimacy that goes far beyond lust. When you touch her there with presence, with reverence, you're not just igniting her body. You're awakening something ancestral in her spirit. You remind her of her softness, her power, her ability to give and receive life. And when this form of pleasure is combined with others, whether external, internal spot or full body, it acts like an amplifier. It doesn't just add another note to the symphony. It makes the entire orchestra play louder, richer, more overwhelming. That's why attention there can often be the missing link that pushes her over the edge into a full-body experience. But here's where most men fail. They rush it. They treat it like a button to press instead of an instrument to play. The area is delicate, too rough, and it hurts. Too mechanical, and it feels empty. What she craves is rhythm, variation, patience like the ocean waves caressing the shore. Sometimes gentle, sometimes intense.